Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather Meteorologist Matthew Euler, and today we're going to take a look at the long-range weather outlook. Could fall like air be in the offing? What about Hurricane Maria? Where will Hurricane Maria go next? You're about to find out. Okay, so we're going to start off the long range on the 28th of September. All times on all my slides of the presentation are 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. All right, so we start off with looking at a interesting situation on the 8th, or the 28th rather, 28th of September on next Thursday. We have colder air that's filtering down from Canada into the upper Midwest. We have a cold front, which is approaching southeast Virginia. And then we have Hurricane Maria, which is sitting just to the southeast of Cape Hatteras. In the upper levels at 30,000 feet, we have a huge ridge, an upper level ridge over the western United States, and a upper level trough over the eastern U.S. This is the reflection, the circular area here. This is the reflection of Maria. This is the reflection of Maria up at 30,000 feet. All right, so we have in this situation upper level trough, which is going to be moving in from the northwest, along with a surface cold front, which is going to have an impact on pushing Hurricane Maria eventually out to sea away from the east coast. So over time, now we move ahead to the 29th of September. The pattern is flip-flopping. We have a deep upper level trough that's over the eastern United States and a strong upper level ridge over the western U.S. into western Canada. Surface, we have Hurricane Maria, which is now starting to move seaward away from the coast. And we're looking dry here in southeast Virginia. Temperatures will be cooling down the last couple days of September into early October. Now, looking at the 30th of September, we have 1,034 fairly strong high-pressure systems situated over the Dakotas, a dry air mass in effect for southeast Virginia, and then you notice how Hurricane Maria has gone due east and seaward by this point, as this upper level trough and the stronger winds out ahead of it basically push and steer Maria out away from the east coast of the United States. There is an upper level ridge situated basically over south central Canada into the western United States. And again, that deep trough-like pattern, we're getting more of a meridional or some big-time deep troughs, these U-shapes starting to dig in. The yellow areas, again, are the higher wind speeds within the main polar front jet axis. Okay, looking now at the forecast for the 1st of October, we have a new area of moisture that's starting to come in from the southwest towards southeast Virginia. The 1,034 millibar high over the Dakotas has now shifted due east to southeast Canada and has weakened by 6 millibars, so a slight weakening of that high pressure system. But that high pressure system is still influencing New England. The trough at the upper levels at 30,000 feet has now, it's digging in a little bit more now to the Midwest, more of a southwesterly flow at 30,000 feet over the mid-Atlantic region. We do have higher heights or higher pressure over the western United States off the west coast by the 1st of October. Looking ahead now to the 2nd of October, we have a strong cold front that will be moving into southeast Virginia with a lot of moisture out ahead of it. An area of low pressure may actually move basically and develop along it and head up towards New England with time. So we do expect a strong cold frontal passage through the area, bringing showers and thunderstorms by the 2nd of October. We do have a trough of low pressure over the eastern United States, not as deep as it was at the beginning of the 28th of September, so it's weakened a little bit. Now we turn to 3 October, and the main focus of this is an area of low pressure is now situated off of New England with a cold front and an area of showers basically off the eastern seaboard. We have high pressure that's building in behind the frontal passage. And then if we look at this chart, this is a similar chart just above 30,000 feet. The orange colors in this graphic indicate the higher wind speeds, the oranges and the reds. So that shows you your main jet stream axis. Again, we have a little bit of troughing over the eastern United States. Most of this polar front jet axis remains along the northern United States. All right, now moving on to the 6th of October, the jet stream pattern has become more zonal. What does that mean? That means the jet stream axis is oriented more west to east across the northern United States. So that will keep most of the cooler air to the north in Canada and a lot of the more mild or warm air down to the south. We do have at the surface a 1,023 millibar high situated over Illinois. The next cold front approaches the southeast Virginia area at this time. I do want you to take note of some blue colors now starting to show up, which is areas of snow or frozen precipitation. So again, in the long range, it's starting to look, especially with shift into October, it's starting to look more like the jet stream, the polar front jet is shifting further south, and we're going to start seeing more of the blue colors as we move on in time into the fall. Here's the extended temperature forecast from NOAA. This runs from September 29th to October 5th. We've been enjoying some really warm weather here in southeast Virginia recently, with temperatures mainly between 80 and 85 degrees during the day, and at night dropping between 68 and 70. We do expect with time that the pattern will reverse somewhat to where we'll get a ridge over the western United States, and that beneath a ridge, upper level ridge, you generally have warmer temperatures as indicated by above normal readings in the west coast. And then you'll have these blue colors indicate the probability of below normal temperatures over Texas and extending northeastward towards New York State. A lot of the warmth is basically suppressed down to Florida and Georgia and the Carolinas. So here's the long-range final thoughts for this video. There will be a change in that long wave pattern. There will be a change in the jet stream configuration. The last couple, basically week and a half, 7 days or 10 days, we've had more of a ridge in the eastern United States and more of a trough in the western U.S. Actually, some snow out towards Yosemite, into the Montana area, into the northern Rockies, higher elevations of the west. All right, so we do expect the trough to move into the eastern United States. So we'll have a trough that will replace the eastern U.S. upper ridge, more of a ridge in the west, trough in the east pattern, which is going to result in the cool down of temperatures and more fall-like conditions with the passage of a strong cold front around the 2nd of October. Now the polar front jet stream begins to shift further south over the U.S.-Canadian border as we transition to a more fall-like weather pattern. We expect that this time of year that this jet stream is going to set up more along the northern United States. So that's very typical for this time of year as we head in October. Strong cold frontal passage again, as I stated, around the 2nd of October. And we do expect a more typical fall-like pattern for southeast Virginia, where we'll have a frontal passage followed by high pressure building in behind it and some nice weather for two and a half days. And then the next cold front will move through the area. No imminent tropical threats beyond Maria, but the Caribbean remains a hot spot for possible development later. The sea surface temperatures, I don't have the chart on here, but the sea surface temperatures are very warm at this time for the Caribbean. So just keep that in mind. And for Maria, just one final mention on Maria again. You know, this thing is, the European model has it now further seaward or out off the coast, and the American GFS model has it closer to the coast. But it's going to really depend on the timing of this cold front and associated upper level trough to pick Maria up and take it out to sea. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on over the next 3 days to see what the final ultimate path of Maria will be. Right now it does not look like an East Coast landfalling threat. It looks more like it's going to make a slight jog to the west and then head out to sea as the upper level trough and cold front pick it up and take it out. All right, that wraps up the long range forecast from Spot On Weather. Remember, if we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Have a great evening, everyone.